Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're not in the pub yet. We're still sat at home in self-isolation, but as ever it is me, Chris and Pat here to answer your burning questions. The first one was sent in by Jack Smith 12. Jack said, with some crazy transfer rumours springing up over this isolation period, what are your takes on the maddest one so far? Coutinho to Leicester City. Hamill, you've got a little bit of allegiance to Leicester City. Coutinho, will you take him? Do you want him?
You sound blocked up all of a sudden. The hay fever kicking in.
Nah, I feel fine, mate. I feel fine. Maybe I'm just a nasal speaker.
Good to know. Good to know. I discussed this a little bit with Pat on the Extra Time podcast. It would be an amazing signing, wouldn't it? In terms of reputation, perception. Brendan Rodgers would probably lap it up because no doubt he'd sell it as the fact that his brand of football and his man management has attracted the players to the club. But it could only happen, it would only be feasible if they sold James Maddison to Manchester United, because they just can't have two players like that operating in that system. Even Maddison playing with Tielemans as he's roaming eights, one of them tends to do a little bit more defensive work, although James Maddison is a very good presser in that regard. Ayoze Perez on the right, Harvey Barnes on the left, Jamie Vardy through the middle. So really, in that forward unit, only Ayoze Perez's position is really up for debate, isn't it? I don't know what you boys think. Harvey Barnes seems to have sewn it up down that left-hand side, offers them genuine pace. He can also become the second striker at times, a little bit like James Maddison. James Maddison, while he's not having as good a year output-wise, you'd have backed him to rediscover that form that led to the England call-up in the last 10 games or so. And he's still one of the Premier League's outstanding creators. I think created the second most chances from open play. I believe that was the case anyway 2 or 3 weeks ago. All those sort of stats falling out of my head now. So Coutinho, does he come in on £200,000 in a position that they're already stocked up on? Perhaps not. But does this mean that Leicester City are bracing themselves for several bids from Manchester United, from, I don't know, whoever else? Maybe Tottenham, maybe Arsenal for James Maddison. And do you think James Maddison wants that move?
I think at the moment, James Maddison's still in contract talks with Leicester City, right? So I think they need to wait for that one to play out because obviously the coronavirus is going to affect a lot of contracts. So I think James Maddison, if he moves, this move still doesn't make sense to me. I don't think Coutinho can operate in the same role personally that James Maddison does in the same way James Maddison does. And it also doesn't make sense for me for Leicester's recruitment, to be totally honest. I think Leicester have recruited in a totally different way to this over the last few years and it's been successful for them. I think they've almost started to become a sort of English RB Leipzig, where they're picking up sort of rough gems, shining them and then selling them on, which is a good way to go, I think, if you're Leicester City. I don't think it's smart to rip the recruitment book up and suddenly go, okay, well, you know, we've got into the top four. The way to really broach into the top 3 and top 2 is just to go and spend £80 million on Coutinho, who's a fairly luxury player, in my opinion, in a position that we've already got James Maddison, and I don't think he is going to play out wide left in Brendan Rodgers' 4-3-3 now. I think it's slightly different to what it was when he was at Liverpool. So for me, this move makes zero sense in a multitude of facets. I don't know what you think, Pato.
Yeah, I don't really see the point of it either. Like, don't get me wrong, like Coutinho's obviously still an excellent player and he'd immediately be their best player. But yeah, it seems like this is the one position they probably don't need. Like with Maddison and Barnes, I feel like you've got the left and the centre kind of sewn up and you've got creativity there. Like Chris said, Ayoze Perez is the weak link in that front four. And if you were going to invest a ton of money, I think it would make sense to put the money you were going to put into Coutinho into a great right winger and a long-term Vardy replacement. Like, Leicester is still no closer to discovering their solution for Vardy. I mean, Iheanacho has been phenomenal this season, but he's not really playing as an out-and-out centre-forward when he does play. He's playing as part of a front two. Now, if you want to change your system to that, that's fine, but you still need to recruit consonantly. And I just don't really understand I don't know. I think that this is kind of mostly concocted just because of Rodgers' pass with Coutinho. And because, Leicester are an ambitious club. But I completely agree that Leicester, I think, are smarter now. And I'd be much more... to be honest with you, I fully expect that when it comes to the window, maybe Leicester go for a player who we thought was slightly above their level, like a Pellegrini or something. But it seems much more likely to me that they'd go and get people, like Ollie Watkins from Brentford, those kind of guys. That's what I expect from Leicester now.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to spend the money that it would take to get Philippe Coutinho, because although he's out of favour, I think he's still sort of a 70 to 100 million pound price range player. You could get a hell of a striker for 70 to 100 million pounds. I think anyway. I think that sort of money you could probably definitely tempt, in fact, Real into having a nibble at Luka Jovic, somebody like that. And I think that's not the worst option. It's a far more needed position for Leicester, that Vardy replacement, like you mentioned, and maybe even another centre-back, to be honest with you, because I know that Soyuncu's had a great season, but Johnny Evans is getting no younger. Is it Benkovic, the third choice as well, who's had so many injury problems now, it's almost worth getting another player in anyway. So I think there are other places needed in that squad. £80 million, just for me, is too much money.
I think at the moment they're third in the Premier League for key passes, around 10 per game, but James Maddison is responsible for almost 3 of them. So if they were considering selling him, they would have to replicate that output, get in an elite creator. In the same way they're reliant on Jamie Vardy for goals, they're reliant on James Maddison being that link man to whoever's playing centre forward and generating all those chances, aren't they? Although he does take corners, he does take free kicks, so his numbers are a little bit bloated in that regard. But like you said, there's just better money to be spent. Saïd Benrahma, if you want to take a gamble on him, coming in from Brentford, putting up that sort of chance creation. Victor Osimhen from Lille. I mean, he's young. He's had a great breakout campaign. Probably worth the risk for around the same money you'd have to pay for Jovic, maybe 50, 60. Probably half the price you're going to pay for Coutinho. I was thinking Jovic as well. I think that's a good suggestion, Joe. So there's just better ways you can spend that money. And I do think that, it's more pressing to at least sound out a Vardy target. And maybe Jamie Vardy's got one more year in him wherein you can gamble on someone slightly younger who might have a huge payoff in 18 months' time.
Yeah, I think there's also, what about Emi Buendia on that right-hand side, a little bit more of a winger, might help offset some of that open play chance creation that James Maddison brings and allows you to bring in a slightly different style of midfielder who doesn't necessarily have to create as much because Buendia is offsetting some of that chance creation, but equally is going to cost you a lot less than a Philippe Coutinho. So I just think there's so many different options. There's another one of these rumours, by the way, that is sprung up, also for an attacking midfielder. I want to get your thoughts on this one. James Rodriguez to Everton. Pato. Now, this has obviously come from Spain, from Marca. He is going to leave, by the looks of it, from Real Madrid. Obviously doesn't get any game time under Zidane and has played well under Carlo Ancelotti in the past. James to Everton, is this actually a possible transfer?
Everton apparently have a lot of money, but I think they need to clear house before they do something like this. Long term, maybe they want a real 10. Like, I mean, Iwobi basically plays like a 10, but off the left, but hasn't played that much this season. Sigurdsson is obviously kind of aging out, and I don't think should really be in their first 11 at this point. So, would Rodriguez be good? Yes. But again, it comes back to what are you doing with your money? Like, I completely agree when you're talking about Buendia. I think Buendia's creating more chances than almost anybody in the Premier League this season, I think, except for Mahrez and De Bruyne. Like, I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. And I think he probably costs half as much as Rodriguez because Norwich are almost certainly going down. Plus, he adds dribbling from a wide area, plus he's young. I mean, the thing about James is, I don't actually think James is as much a luxury player as Coutinho, weirdly now. I think Rodriguez really learnt to defend a lot when he was at Bayern Munich, and that would certainly help Everton to have somebody really pressing hard from that 10 position. But again, I think we've now got a real crop of these players who are basically impossible to shift for clubs because they're on huge wages. and nobody's going to pay a reasonable amount to get them. If he's available for like 40 mil, sure, I could see it happening, but then I think he'd go to Italy. If he's going to cost more than that, I just think Everton will spend their money elsewhere.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I'm also not too sure what role he would play at Everton in this current Carlo Ancelotti system. With that sort, it's almost a 4-4-2, isn't it, that he's playing at the moment with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin going forward. And Sigurdsson has kind of had to sacrifice that creative 10 work in some regards, which is where James thrives. So I think if you're going to ask James to play in either a flat midfield 4 or from a wide position, this move, again, a little bit like Coutinho, doesn't make much sense to me, especially with the outlay, less so on transfer fee, probably more on wages for Everton. I imagine James is one of the top earners in world football. He brings a massive amount of commercial viability to the club, and I just think it's just a silly signing. It's a signing that Everton don't need to make and probably won't make for me.
It absolutely stinks of Inter or AC Milan, doesn't it? Probably more AC at the moment, to be perfectly honest.
I think that'd be a big drop off for James though, wouldn't it? Going to like 10th place AC.
Yeah, but I reckon his options are probably going to be limited unless, him and Isco want to stick around and try and win a place back in that side.
The other club mentioned were Wolves. Now, obviously, Jorge Mendes links.
He fits less into a Wolves system for me than he does an Everton system. Obviously, in that 4-4-2 that Ancelotti's been playing, when Bernard's been out on the left, he's tended to have been the player that's drifted in and adopted a sort of hybrid 10 role as well, right? Sigurdsson was pretty vital for Silva in the final third, but it's become Bernard for Everton if it's not Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin progressing the ball. I don't think... Obviously, the Jorge Mendes connection is there, but that brand of football, that style of football, the forwards are very hard working at Wolves, aren't they? Diogo Jota does an awful lot of running, and Raul Jimenez does an awful lot of holding up the ball. I don't see where James Rodriguez fits in with that style of play.
Yeah, there was also tenuous links to Arsenal, Pato, as a Mesut Ozil replacement when Mesut Ozil's contract eventually runs out or you sell him this summer. James, Arsenal, no?
I mean, it makes more sense than the other two, I'd say. Like, as in Arsenal do have a need in that position. I don't think they can afford him unless they do shift Ozil. Like, at least his wages. Like, they can't absorb Ozil's wages and James' wages at the same time, I don't think. I mean, yeah, he's younger. And I think Ozil's legs look to have gone. Like, you're not getting the creativity out of Ozil and the pressing at the same time. And you would get out of James, but not in the long term. It would only be a couple of years of it. And it just, again, feels like you could just target someone much younger to do that job for you. Like, don't get me wrong, you put James into this side in Ozil's position now, and you immediately improve the team. Like, James is faster than Ozil. He's a more active defender than Ozil. Ozil's had a pretty poor season creatively, though I think there are quite a lot of factors that have gone into that. And James is also just more of a goal threat himself. So I think that would improve the team, definitely. But is it the sensible move for Arsenal in the long term? Probably not. They just don't have much money. We have no idea what their finances are going to look like at the end of this particular season. Obviously because of the massive hit everybody's going to be taking to revenue. So yeah, I don't know. I could certainly, if he went to Arsenal, I'd certainly think that was less stupid than him going to Wolves and less stupid than him going to Everton. But I would still think this doesn't really seem like joined up thinking.
If Everton want a number 10 who's in their late 20s, just as a sort of, to give them a bit of tactical flexibility, they could just go and get Pascal Gross probably for 15, 20, get 2 years out of him. He's creating over 2 chances per night in the Premier League. And carry on playing that 4-4-2 for the most part.
Well, the other player linked with Everton, and who I've also got written down on this list of bizarre transfer rumours, is Lorenzo Pellegrini, who, according to Calcio Mercato, has a £26 million buyout clause that becomes active this summer, 13 million of which can be paid over the next 2 years. So effectively a £13 million Lorenzo Pellegrini, heavily linked with Carlo Ancelotti. Obviously, I think he's basically being linked because Carlo has those Italian connections, isn't he? But that would be a much better option than James, wouldn't it? Because at least you're not paying out on wages to the extent you're not paying out on the transfer fee to the extent, and you're potentially getting a player who it could develop into a star.
Yeah, and he's much, much younger too. I mean,
Yeah,
Pellegrini...
23 still.
Pellegrini's a great creator and also an amazing passer into the final third. I mean, if you compare him to guys like Maddison and Grealish, he's way ahead of them in terms of progressive passing as well as creativity in this last season and in the season before, actually. And I think it would just be... He's so cheap that it's just worth a go. Like, to me, the outstanding creators who you'd want to target this summer would be Buendia, Pellegrini and Odegaard. Those are the three guys that I'd be going for. And after that, if you can't get them, maybe look at one of these more expensive, older options. But I think that right now, there's so much creativity to be had in the kind of 22 to 24 age bracket for a pretty reasonable price among sides that are probably going to, in some cases, are going to get relegated or in some other cases are going to have to sell. It just seems strange to me to be kind of like going and asking Real Madrid for their 28-year-old cast-offs.
Yeah, I think only Luis Alberto is a more potent creator in Serie A at the moment, right? Which is pretty good going, considering Roma are, sort of only in Europa League places. Pretty good going for Pellegrini, that is.
It worries me slightly, though, that it's so cheap. It just smells a little bit of Juventus to me. Like, Juve just coming in and just signing him just for the sake of signing him, stockpiling him in the back catalogue, as they've done with a load of players in the past, and then like shifting Aaron Ramsey on or something like that.
Yeah, if that's the case, if they do sign Pellegrini, if he does go to Juventus, then someone like Bernardeschi is available, who, is crying out to have a second wind after actually getting some minutes under his belt. Rodrigo de Paul, I think Udinese is probably due a move as well. He's starting to approach his mid to late 20s, right? He's always put up very, very good creative numbers in the Serie A. So it might be worth a little sniff at him as well.
There's also only so much Juventus can do. Like, I agree, like it does feel like Juventus, underpriced quality Italian player, but they've already brought in Kulusevski. He's going to join in the summer. They did that deal in January, and they were trying to shift loads of players last summer. And right now, half the rumours about Juve are who they're trying to move on. There are rumours they want to shift Ronaldo. They certainly want to clean out their midfield. Like, they need to get rid of Higuain. They've got loads and loads and loads of guys on their books, and they can't just indefinitely sign new people.
Did you have any thoughts on the Kulusevski move? Because it potentially might rise to £36 million. And this is a guy who's played a handful of games on loan, impressed, obviously come through Atalanta's youth system, so he's got that kind of quality stamp on him. But that is a sizable move.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, his numbers are genuinely outrageous this season as a 19-year-old in Serie A. In not a good side either. I mean, like, he's been truly, truly remarkable. And I mean, with Juve, it just always feels like there's never really a risk. Like, they buy these guys, and then if they don't like them and they want to sell them on, they normally can. Like, they are paying a premium for him, but I think they'll probably sell Bernardeschi. I think they'll try and shift Higuain. They'll probably let at least two of their midfielders go. Like, there are places they can pick up the money, and even if Kulusevski has like 2 or 3 down years, it would be odd if he didn't turn into at least a useful player for them.
Yeah, I also think there's a few options for Pellegrini in Germany. I think that he's quite a Leipzig-style signing, isn't he? Pick him up for a fairly cheap amount of money. Also, if Dortmund do lose Jadon Sancho and lose that creative output from open play, it wouldn't be the worst option to pick up a Pellegrini, and it allows them also to play another man further forward in Erling Haaland more often without having to sacrifice a Marco Reus or somebody like that. So that's a sort of move I think will end up happening. Pellegrini to like Dortmund or Leipzig, just snap him up and then sell him again when he's 25 and he's a world-renowned talent.
Maybe Dortmund. I think there'll probably be the wages at other clubs will tempt him away from Leipzig.
Yeah, maybe. Let's go to another one of these ridiculous rumours that sprung out of absolutely nowhere. I didn't see this one coming, I have to say. Manuel Neuer to replace Kepa at Chelsea. I saw us cover this on Euro Transfer Talk this week. Obviously, 34 years old now. Kepa has been hounded at Chelsea, hasn't he, for having a pretty down season, and rightly so at times by Frank Lampard. But Manuel Neuer, where's the joined up thinking there for me? I don't understand any of these rumours. In particular, Manuel Neuer, who, despite being out of contract in 2021, why would Chelsea sign a 34-year-old goalkeeper and sacrifice, how old is Kepa, 23? Is he something like that, 22?
No, I think he's 25.
25. Why would they sacrifice a 25-year-old Kepa for 34-year-old Manuel Neuer?
You'd have to tell me, right, now whether they have any suitors, Chelsea, for Kepa, because isn't this move dependent on first moving Kepa on for a sizable amount of cash?
Yeah.
And who is buying Kepa in current form?
Well, there was those reports this week, wasn't there, that Chelsea actually didn't want Kepa as their first choice. Shock, horror. Who saw that one coming?
17 mil second choice goalkeeper.
Who saw that one coming? And there's also, I think, what has kind of started all of these reports off is that Bayern Munich, despite already signing Neubel on a free from Schalke, are interested in Marc-Andre Ter Stegen out of Barcelona because his contract is up in 2 years. And hasn't agreed a contract extension yet. So I think that's where the rumours have sprung up from.
How old will Ter Stegen be in 2 years?
Maybe 29, 30.
Yeah, so not of an age where he'd be happy to kind of be the guarantee if Neubel didn't come good. Because doesn't everyone in Germany have massive expectations of him?
Yeah, I mean, Neubel's certainly highly rated. But yeah, I don't know. I remember in the past we saw a lot of rumours that Bayern were interested in Oblak as well, right? And Oblak does he still have that release? What was it, like 110 mil or something?
Yeah, he did have that, didn't he? I don't know whether he signed a new contract since.
This just seems... I don't think Bayern are going to do anything at all with their keepers. I think they'll bring in Neubel. They'll persist with Neuer because they've got to go and buy wingers, and they also need to think about a long-term striker, unless they want to move Gnabry there, but I don't see why you would.
He's just had a much better year, hasn't he, Neuer? And if they were to get rid of him, it feels like they'd be solving another club's short-term issues by sacrificing their own. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Well, apparently there's a contract offer on the table from Bayern Munich to Neuer for 3 years as well. Let's not forget he is 34, and the report I read this morning was that he doesn't want 3 years, he wants 5. He wants to be a contract till 39 to guarantee basically that he finishes his career in Bavaria, which I think is ridiculous. 3-year contract on the table right now at 34 years of age. Surely you snap Bayern's hand off.
This feels like a Neuer agent special.
Yeah,
this
totally
Chelsea
agree.
link. I don't know why Chelsea would do it either. I think Chelsea have actually got a bit smarter than this recently.
Yeah, right, another one then. Harry Kane, obviously on Instagram Live with Jamie Redknapp, was saying a few things about how if he doesn't feel the club is progressing, then he will leave. And obviously they've won one of their last 7 games under Jose Mourinho, kind of falling away from the Champions League a bit pre-coronavirus. So there have been heavy links with him to Madrid.
Nice, because on Extra Time, we spoke about him going to Manchester United. So I do like the Madrid angle.
Yeah, as a Benzema replacement. But those dodgy ankles and a contract until 2024.
I also think Real Madrid will probably be in the market for a midfielder more so than an attacker. So what we basically deduced on the Extra Time podcast was that, Paul Pogba could be an ideal candidate to replace Luka Modric, who will need replacing in the next 18 months. And even then, do they need a Paul Pogba? Do they need to spend another 150 million after a record transfer window, splashing out Eden Hazard, Rodrigo, etc.? I think there's a lot of young players at Real Madrid who are waiting to come good. Vinicius Junior's put up the sort of numbers where he should probably be entrusted with a more regular first team role. Although Rodrigo's kind of usurped him actually, hasn't he, of late? He's been playing really well. So I think it depends what sort of form Eden Hazard comes back in. And I think Pat would probably be of the mind where Aubameyang makes more sense for 60 to 70 than Harry Kane for 120 to 130, right, Pat? Don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'd go for either, but I'd definitely go for Aubameyang at that rather than Kane at the other price, certainly. Yeah, I think I just don't know why you'd buy Kane right now. Like, I think he's going to cost an absolute fortune because you've got no leverage whatsoever. And frankly, like, even if you think that when he's fit, he's still one of the best strikers in the world, which I don't really anymore. I think he's a very good striker. He's not fit that often. Like, his injury problems seem to be accelerating. Like, it's possible that this time off, he gets back to full fitness, then he has the summer as well, and he's able to just like have the long rest that basically Spurs have been too incompetent to give him over the last few years, or that he's just demanded to play and not let them give him. But I just think the money is going to be so obscene that, again, there's better value in the market. I think you'll be able to get Timo Werner for a third of the price, and Werner is now a better player. I think you've got Jovic already there, and you could certainly like persist with him. You could get Lautaro Martinez for probably 2/3 of the Kane price, who again is younger, fitter, and is in very good form. Like, it just seems like you're going to be paying maybe not Mbappe money for Kane, but not that far off. You're going to be paying Sancho money for Kane. And right now, to me, there's no choice between those two. I would take Sancho.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it makes no sense, and I think Aubameyang's a way better option. It costs way less. I know that Kane's a little bit younger, isn't he? But at the end of the day, it's only 3 years, 4 years, maybe a bit difference between them. I think Kane's, 26 and Aubameyang's 30, is he now?
I think Kane's 27 and Aubameyang's 30, yeah. But I mean, Aubameyang's fitness is extremely reliable, at least. And also, you know, like mobility-wise, who would you argue is the more mobile player at this point, Aubameyang or Kane? It's probably Aubameyang.
Yeah, it probably is. And also, I'm not being funny, they also signed Luka Jovic for 50 mil last summer, so maybe you just give him some game time over Karim Benzema once in a while. Final one of these weird rumours then, before we go on to quickfire questions. Just I thought this was funny. Martin Braithwaite to West Ham for £15 million. Have you ever seen a more West Ham transfer rumour than Martin Braithwaite after 3 games at Barca?
Yeah. If Barcelona turn a profit on someone like Braithwaite, then I'm done with the rest of football.
This move is not going to happen, I don't think, but it is just the most West Ham thing I've ever heard in my life. They probably didn't have a clue who Martin Braithwaite was before he made the headlines in Barcelona and went, oh, this player, who's he? Martin Braithwaite. We'll have a stab at him.
Just talking about Real Madrid there, West Ham might be worth a bit of a nibble on Mariano. It seems like his time has come at Real Madrid. If Luka Jovic can't get minutes, what's Mariano doing still kicking about there? He's probably available for 20 mil. Go and sign him. He's still of a decent age, isn't he? What's Mariano, like 26?
But West Ham don't need a striker at all. Like, again, they spent a huge sum of money on Haller last summer. They've then gone and got Jarrod Bowen as well, who, like, essentially plays like a striker, even though he plays off the wing. Like, I mean, of all the things West Ham need to do, buying forwards is definitely not one of them. Go and buy some defenders and some midfielders. They're an absolute state.
Mark Noble will still be starting at that club next year.
Yeah, Mark Noble will get a 5-year contract when he's 34. He's going to get the Neuer contract that's going to last him until he's like in retirement.
Very true. He will have a statue at West Ham pre-retirement, I think. Right, let's do a couple quick-fire questions then. One from Neo. He says, due to the release of the second season of Sunderland Till I Die, what season do you wish by any team had been filmed to see a behind the scenes? Now, I haven't watched any of the Sunderland season 2, but I watched one clip yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw the retweet. Did you watch it?
I watched the clip. Yeah.
Oh my good God. Where he's talking about playing out EDM music out of the PA system.
How is that not a comedy sketch?
It's honestly, it's the zooms on the like more junior members of staff's faces and right down to a T. It's like it's been written by Ricky Gervais.
And he's not trying to hide. Is like disdain. Is he the young guy? He's just looking at him like, what the? What season?
I think for me, I'd like. Do you know where the Gerrard slip season with Liverpool? Behind the scenes there would have been excellent because there would have been so much positivity. You'd have seen some really attractive football played at times, and then you'd have seen pure meltdown, wouldn't you? Imagine the behind the scenes after Chelsea beat them at Anfield and Jose's down the touchline.
I would like probably a Barcelona or Real Madrid one, just because I think it's pure chaos behind the scenes. It's probably such a like soap opera. Maybe a year at Barcelona in which there was also presidential elections. I'd just like to see the politics behind the scenes because I think it gets vicious at those clubs. And you would just like to see how much power Messi wields behind the scenes. You know, like him just saying, nah, Griezmann's not starting today. So deal with it. And then him just walking off. Class.
Pato, anyone's?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's much easier to think of like positive seasons, but I think like a negative season is going to be much better TV. Yeah. So, you know, like, would it be good to see like the season Atleti won the league? Like, yeah, probably, but I'd much rather like an absolute car crash of a season.
Like Tottenham at the moment.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. Or like, I think any relegation season is always going to be funny. Or that year, what about that year that like Leverkusen like threw away the title and the cup and the Champions League in the space of a few weeks?
Oh, that's a great shout.
When Ballack lost 3 finals.
Yeah, like something like that I think would be really fun. Like, I mean, or even, you know what? Not even the whole season, but just the summer that Neymar left Barcelona, I think would be really, really funny because of all the like Instagram posts from like PK and stuff. Just everyone being like, "Nah, he's not gonna leave." It would just be amazing to see their reaction when they were like, they get the check in the post that's like Neymar's leaving. It was so good.
What about when Sheffield United thought they should have stayed up at West Ham's expense because the whole Carlos Tevez saga?
Oh,
Can you
that's good.
imagine Neil Warnock behind the scenes? That'd be class.
That would be. In the court proceedings and all sorts. This one then from Jack Egan. What players/managers deserve a statue or a stand named after them? I think he's talking about, obviously, Wenger's going to get a statue here, isn't he? Outside of the Emirates, a bronze statue. So, any other players that we think deserve statues?
What modern players that might go and secure a statue otherwise?
Yeah, let's say modern players. Right, that are playing now that we think will go on to get a statue/a stand.
If Harry Kane stops threatening to leave on Instagram, then he'll probably get one at Tottenham, won't they? They'll probably give him one now to make him stay. Mark Noble's a great candidate. You're thinking of one club men, aren't you?
Yeah.
Phil Jagielka at Sheffield United. Not a one club man, but a club legend. Who else?
What about Diego Simeone at Atletico?
Yeah, that's a great shout.
I think Diego Simeone at Atletico, because without him, they'd just be such a nothing club.
With a statue of him grabbing his balls. That'd be great.
Or just like the Diego Simeone stand or something like that. Like he if there ever is a man that has like reincarnated a club, it's Diego Simeone at Atletico, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've missed the obvious ones, haven't we? Ronaldo should probably get one at Real. Probably won't though, because of Perez.
I think Zidane should potentially get one at Real. All the things he did as a player, 3 Champions League trophies as a manager. He can't be far off, can he? What more does he have to do to get a statue as a man outside there?
It'd be nice to see Xavi or Iniesta get one at Barca.
Yeah, if Xavi comes back as a manager and does what Zidane's done, then fair play, give him a statue.
Yeah, maybe like statue status is something else, isn't it? It's not even just for club legends.
What about Scott Brown at Celtic, mate?
See, brilliant captain, mate, but not statue status. I think we've got Billy McNeil outside, who was the first man to lift the Champions League for a British club. Like, they're the sort of levels.
Yeah, but Scott Brown could win 10 in a row, mate.
Well, it looks like we're about to be denied 9 in a row, mate. Almost criminal.
I mean, that would be funny, wouldn't it? One off of the decade, and they just bin it. Right, let's finish with a personal question then from Luke Best. He says, favourite and least favourite sitcoms?
Ooh.
I was trying to think about this morning. What is a sitcom? Somebody define me a sitcom.
A situation comedy. Like,
So-
what do you mean?
So is Brooklyn Nine-Nine a sitcom?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine a lot at the moment. I think that's very good. What about Curb Your Enthusiasm? Is that a sitcom?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my favourite. Definitely. The most recent season, I think it's season 10, is exceptional.
Is it? I've not watched the new
Absolutely
ones.
Unbelievable.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I'd go Curb as my favourite and least. I don't know. You guys are going to say like Big Bang, but I enjoy Big Bang Theory.
Oh, Jesus.
I can't. It's unwatchable.
Totally. It's worse than How I Met Your Mother.
What's that one as well that had Charlie Sheen in it?
3.5 Men. 2.5 Men.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's bad. That's fucking terrible.
Everyone involved in that should be in The Hague. Like, that is awful.
But everyone involved in that made absolute pee. Wasn't he the most... he was the most well-paid man on TV.
But that's how sitcoms are, you know. Like sitcoms are like such a money spinner. Like, anyone who was on a sitcom for like 100 episodes and then it gets into syndication, like, those are the people who are like literally the richest people in Hollywood because they did like 200 episodes of absolute bullshit.
Like Jerry Seinfeld. He's wadded off his...
Yeah, Larry David.
Isn't he?
Yeah, but Seinfeld at least is actually amazing. Like, and Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld like worked super hard to get there, whereas like Charlie Sheen I mean, let's not get into it, but he's the worst.
The Friends cast were getting $1 million an episode.
Yeah, and I mean, by the end of that show, Jesus.
I mean, don't disrespect Friends now.
Obviously the British Office is amazing. The thick of it is amazing.
Oh, the thick of it's amazing, yeah.
Like Peep Show, the first 4 seasons of Peep Show, I think are legit incredible. I feel like I'm missing really obvious ones here, though.
Yeah, I'm sure we are.
Yeah.
Any other last minute shouts, Samuel, before I wrap this up?
No, I think you listed off the obvious ones.
All right, there we have it. So that is the end of this week's Sunday Isolation Vibes. I hope you're staying inside and staying safe at home. If you enjoyed it, go and watch Extra Time. That came out yesterday with Hamill and Pato. Where you were doing a Would You Rather, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so go and watch that right now. Leave a comment saying Sunday Vibes sent you. Make sure you like this video, hit subscribe to Football Daily. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.